Women's rights in America have come a long way, from the right to vote to achieving equal pay and protections in the workplace. Every gain has been hard-won. But as we look at the landscape today, many of these rights we may have assumed were unshakable, are now under threat. Welcome to That's My Opinion, where we deep dive into the stories and topics everybody's talking about, but with a fresh new perspective. In today's video, we're diving deep into the journey women in the United States have taken, exploring the freedoms we've rightfully earned and the ongoing fight to keep them. And now more than ever, it's critical to understand what's at stake, not just for us, but for future generations of women who deserve the same freedoms and opportunities. My name is Bacon Bears, and if you like what you see today, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get started. Now, in order to move forward, you must go back all the way to March 31st of 1776. It was a simpler time then when women couldn't vote, we couldn't own property without a man, we weren't allowed to go to university, to earn equal wages, to enter professions. In fact, women had no defined legal identity. Women could not sign legal documents, and women had limited representation in courts. Even though women were active in the American Revolution and supported its ideals of liberty, equality, and natural rights, they were still not given the same political rights as men. Because why? Why? So a little lady named Abigail Adams wrote a letter to her very powerful husband, a man named John Adams, asking if he could so kindly, remember the ladies and be more generous and favorable to them than your ancestors. Take it easy on us a little bit. Do not put such unlimited power into the hands of husbands, because remember, all men would become tyrants if they could. And if particular care and attention is not paid to us ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion. And we will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice and no representation, just so you're aware. And while setting up the new country's laws, Johnny Boy pretty much shrugged it off as a chuckle. So funny. He saw her request as cute, but not serious. Boop. You're adorable with your small lady brain. And women's rights didn't exactly make the cut in America's founding documents. Her words, though, stuck around and became kind of an early "I told you so" that would echo for centuries. We have made it to the first ever women's rights convention organized by women, the legendary Seneca Falls Convention, which took place in New York. With around 300 people showing up, including powerhouse organizers like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott, the energy was electric. Like I was there. It's just exciting. They're doing something for the first time. 68 women and 32 men, yes, even a one Mr. Frederick Douglass, signed the groundbreaking Declaration of Sentiments, calling out the injustices women faced and demanding change. What is the Declaration of Sentiments, you might ask? I also asked. There is a link to the full article down below, but in short, the Declaration of Sentiments outlined the many ways that women were denied their rights, calling out social, legal, and economic equalities they faced. The Declaration demanded equal rights for women, including the right to vote. But no, that wouldn't happen until 1920. And only if you were white. In May 29th of 1851, we meet Sojourner Truth, a fierce trailblazer for equality, an escaped slave who became a legendary abolitionist, women's rights activist, and powerful public speaker, known for her iconic "Ain't I a Woman?" I'll link the full speech down below. She broke barriers by calling out racism and sexism head on, which she would be happy to know that we are still doing the same thing today. So that's great. But she demanded justice for all. And with a booming voice and unstoppable courage, Truth fought for the rights of Black women and challenged society to do better. December 10th of 1869, Wyoming, of all places, made history by becoming the first U.S. jurisdiction to grant women the rights to vote. Wyoming. This bold move was decades ahead of the 19th Amendment, 51 years to be exact, and marked a significant step for women's rights in America. And Wyoming's decision wasn't just about voting. Women in the territory also gained the right to hold public offices and serve on juries, which that one they could have left out, I think. Because who wants to do jury duty? On May 15th of 1869, history was made when Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton founded the National Women Suffrage Association. This bold move kicked off the national suffrage movement pushing for women's right to vote in 1890. They joined forces with the American Woman Suffrage Association to create the National American Woman Suffrage Association, uniting voices and amplifying the fight for equality. Now, what is the definition of suffrage? Well, I'll tell you. Suffrage is the right to vote in elections. It specifically refers to the right to participate in choosing public officials, passing laws, and making political decisions. Ta-da! And these trailblazing women weren't just making waves. No. They were changing the trajectory of history. Which good, because men, ew, just kidding. I like mine. Woo! Everybody gets birth control! Just kidding. Nobody gets birth control. On October 16th of 1916, Margaret Sanger opens the first birth control clinic in Brooklyn because, women want to make decisions about their own bodies. But of course, that clinic was immediately deemed illegal under the Comstock laws, which forbade birth control. What is a Comstock law? Well, let me tell you. There were a set of laws passed in the late 1800s that basically banned anything immoral, like birth control, and even information about it. Because the less these little ladies are informed, the less they can make informed decisions. And because the idea of little ladies having control over their own bodies was just too much for society to handle in 1916 and in 2024. These laws made sure that women had zero access, zero, zip, zilch, in whatever language you want to say it. None. Zero access to reproductive health information, because who needs that, right? And then just 10 days after opening, the clinic was raided, so Sanger had to shut it down. But no worries. She wasn't about to give up. In 1921, she founded the American Birth Control League, which later evolved into today's Planned Parenthood, which they are still also trying to shut down. So 144 years later, we get the right to vote. Well, if you're white. So you may get the right to vote, but not me. On August 18th of 1920, the 19th Amendment was ratified, finally giving women the right to vote, and it declared that no one could be denied the vote because of sex. They named it the Susan B. Anthony Amendment, honoring her tireless fight for women's suffrage. Take that, history. Everybody gets birth control again, but this time it's for real. May 9th of 1960, the FDA, or Food and Drug Administration, approves the first commercially produced birth control pill in the world. And now, as a woman, you have control of if and when you want to have a little baby fry. I don't know why baby fry, tater tot, small potato. June 10th of 1963, one people ago, because it would be 2 years until my mom was born, so let that sink in. Our president, John F. Kennedy, signs the Equal Pay Act, which does not allow sex-based wage discrimination between men and women performing the same job. And yet, still in 2024, nobody gives a flying rat's ass that piece of paper even exists. So I hope you're hungry for nothing. July of 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson signs the Civil Rights Act, which bans employment discrimination based on race, religion, national origin, or gender. Yes. June 23rd, 1972, Title IX was signed into law by President Richard Nixon. But this law made it illegal to discriminate based on sex in any educational program or activity that receives federal funding. In simple terms, it ensured that everyone, regardless of gender, had equal access to education and school activities, including sports. Now, I did a deep dive on this on my TikTok because I thought it was utterly fascinating. So if you want to see a deep dive on a YouTube video, let me know in the comments down below. I would be happy to do it. But January 22nd, 1973. It's a landmark 7-2 decision, final buzzer beater for Roe versus Wade. The U.S. Supreme Court declares that the Constitution protects a woman's legal right to an abortion because a woman should have the right to do what she wants with her body. Period. We can end this right now. But don't worry, folks, because the Supreme Court giveth and the Supreme Court taketh away. Because that right was stripped away from you in 2022. Yes, it was. Your body, government's choice. September 13th, 1994, President Bill Clinton signed the Violence Against Women Act. Now, there are certain words that you can't say on YouTube, so the law provided funding to help victims of DV, the R word, sexual assault, stalking, and other types of violence against women. It also improved supports like shelters, hotlines, and legal help for survivors. Additionally, it required better training for law enforcement and tougher punishments for offenders. And that was 1994. Yours truly, sitting right here, was 9. I had been on this earth for 9 years before we put something into law that was like, hey, don't hit girls. And this is why we can't have anything nice. January 2013, the U.S. military removes a ban against women serving in combat positions. July 26th of 2016, Hillary Clinton becomes the first woman to receive a presidential nomination. January 20th of 2021, Kamala Harris is sworn in as the first woman and first woman of color vice president in the United States of America. We have built it up and now we have to break it down, because I think it's important that as we see how we've pushed forward through history, we have a clear vision of how we can fall all the way back. In 2022, a woman's right to healthcare was directly impacted. Recently, many states have made it harder for people to get access to abortion or birth control. After the Supreme Court's decision in 2022 to end Roe v. Wade, several states passed laws that ban or heavily limit termination, with very few exceptions. And these laws are especially difficult for low-income women and women of color. Some states have also tried to restrict access to birth control, like emergency contraception, and have even put limits on healthcare providers. These changes have sparked debates about personal rights and the impact on women's health and freedom. Limitations on healthcare funding and restrictions on certain medication procedures can seriously affect women's health. For example, cutting funding for Medicaid or limiting insurance coverage for things like maternity care. We need that, which is insane to me, because you want all of us to get pregnant by taking away birth control, and then you want to go ahead and take away maternity care. What? Restrictions on certain procedures can force women to travel far or pay extra costs to get care, and in some cases, they might be denied care altogether. So, that's cool. Without proper access to healthcare, women face worse health outcomes, financial struggles, and less control over their own health decisions. According to the CDC, in 2021, Black women in the U.S. had a much higher rate of mortality from pregnancy-related causes compared to white women. For every 100,000 live births, 69.9, 70% of Black women died, which is 2.6 times the rate for white women, who had 26.6 deaths per 100,000 live births. And now we would like to take away the care for said births. You know what? There's nothing better than upping a horrible statistic. Recently, there have been efforts, maybe, to improve workplace and pay equality for women in 2024. Some states and cities are passing laws that require employers to share pay ranges in job postings, which can help reduce pay gaps. There have also been cases where women have faced discrimination in hiring, promotions, pay, leading to lawsuits that push for better enforcement of equality laws. And despite these efforts, in 2024, many industries still struggle with unequal pay and fewer opportunities. Especially for who? Oh, I heard one of you. Women of color. Yeah, I'm sure all the women on the first half of this video would be so proud of us right now. And these challenges show the need for stronger policies to achieve true equality in the workplace. And I know that there's gonna be somebody in the comments that's gonna say, well, if they just do their job, to which I say, a lot of times, they don't even get the opportunity to do said job. And also, I think you're an asshole. And to throw this in there, because some of you claim that being gay goes against Jesus's way, yet will still watch two women kiss. Women's rights and LGBTQ plus rights are connected in many ways, especially when it comes to issues like what? One of the things we need the most, what was that? Oh, healthcare, discrimination, and legal protections. For example, transgender women face challenges related to both gender inequality and discrimination. They might have trouble getting gender-affirming healthcare or face violence and discrimination because of their gender identity, which literally affects nobody but them. No one. Not me? No? You? No? How about you? No? Doesn't affect you at all? I didn't think so. These trends threaten the rights of women, especially in the LGBTQ plus community, leading to more discrimination and less access to services that they need. The intersection of women's rights and LGBTQ plus rights is important because it shows how both groups need to fight for equality in a tough political climate. We got to work together, folks. Women's rights in America are the result of decades of hard work, sacrifice, and resilience. But unfortunately, we got cocky, and these rights are not guaranteed forever because, I don't know. We thought that maybe like a bunch of years later, people would just see other people as equal. But who am I? What do I know? But it's crucial for us to understand what we have fought for, what's at risk, and take action to protect our progress. By staying informed and speaking out and supporting each other, we can ensure that the rights we fought for time and time again remain strong for future generations of women. Now, I was going to sign out of this video, but I wrote this script and I did my research. And the most important thing for myself is I am a mother twice. I was lucky enough to be a mother twice. And I was lucky enough to have wonderful health care. And I was lucky enough to have a medical provider that cared about myself, cared about my baby, cared about what I said. And the fact that not everybody gets to say that they've had that same opportunity makes me sick to my stomach. Now, with being the mother, I am also the mother to a daughter. And for my daughter to grow up in a world where she does not have the right to make decisions over her own body makes me really scared. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I have personally made is letting things go by me because I wasn't educated enough on the matter. And I think that we can make educated decisions when we get the education. And that's why I wanted to make this video today. I personally think that all people are equal. I think that all people deserve the same opportunities. I think that they deserve equality. And I don't think that people should be treated differently. I mean, unless you're a complete asshole, what you look like shouldn't be the first thing that we look at. And it boggles my mind that we sit here in 2024 and we're still fighting for equality. But anyways, I'm Bacon Bears, and that's my opinion. Bye.